Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to describe a process for developing your own handwritten font. This is a process that you will be able to reuse for as many fonts as you need. Along the way, I will describe 3 example fonts to give you an idea of the type of fonts that you might want to develop for yourself. Let's get into it. To get this process started, I'd actually like to remind you of 2 ideas we talked about in the intro module: your goal and your context. Remind yourself of what those are for you and keep them in mind as you figure out how best to use text. For each font that you use, you'll want to decide for yourself what purpose that font will serve. And again, this is where your goal and your context will help guide you. Here are 3 fairly general fonts and their purpose that I'll use as examples. I think it's useful to first develop your core font, your default style of writing words, which likely will just be a cleaned up version of your natural handwriting style. After that core font, you could develop a secondary font, one that has a slightly different feel to it than the first, so that you can add emphasis to important words. You can round things out with a title font, which you could use to distinguish between different sections of your notes. Those are the 3 examples that I'll use to demonstrate this process and show you how writing text in different ways can help you to communicate more clearly with your notes. Keep in mind that you can use one writing tool differently to get to multiple fonts, or you could use 3 different tools to have some built-in variation. In these examples, I'll be using the one writing tool approach. After clarifying the purpose of a font, you can experiment with different styles until you find one that is a good fit for that purpose. So for your core font, you might try out lowercase writing and uppercase writing to see which you like better and which feels more natural to you. For a secondary font, you could add a bit of boldness or maybe write the words in more of an italic style. And for a title font, you could go big or maybe add a bit of extra style to make those words really stand out. By taking the time to experiment with different fonts in this way, you'll get a good feel for the types of variation that you like best, and you'll be more likely to find the type of font that fits well for that particular purpose. Now that you've got some options to choose from, you can select the font that you like best for that purpose. For these examples, I like uppercase for my core font, italics for my secondary, and the more stylish version for the title font. I'd like to point out here that you could switch the order of purpose and experiment. If you wanted to, you could start by experimenting with a bunch of different font styles, and then only after experimenting, pick the ones you like and figure out what purpose you'd like those fonts that you've experimented with to serve. That approach would be just as worthwhile as starting with purpose. And once you have selected the fonts that you'd like to use, the next step is to practice them so that you can use them with ease during your note-taking sessions. One way to do that is by writing out the full alphabet, maybe before each note-taking session as a warm-up. I've provided some other practice activities below that will help you to solidify those fonts that you'll be using most frequently. The final step in developing your own handwritten fonts is to start applying those fonts in real situations. Look for opportunities to use them in your visual note-taking sessions, and over time you'll see how well suited they are to your particular context, and your ability to use each of them consistently will improve over time. Remember that this process is one that you can turn to whenever you feel like you need a new font to add to your repertoire. Your task now is to use the activities that I've provided below to develop a few of your own custom fonts, practice those fonts, and then start applying them to your work. So go dig into those activities, and then check out the next video, where I'll show you how to go from writing letters to drawing letters. See you there.